Scary moments in video games tend to come and go. However, the truly terrifying, those that made us want to switch our consoles off, remain buried inside for years to come. Let's take a look at 15 such moments and memories here. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Mr. X crushes Ben Bertolucci. The first encounter with Mr. X, aka the Tyrant, is freaky enough, and despite how dapper he looks, you can never really relax. Then again, you don't really get to see how brutal the Tyrant can be, until he murders an imprisoned Ben Bertolucci by crushing his skull. It's quick and not altogether messy, which just makes it all the more terrifying. Dead Space 2. Stick a needle in your eye. Between the necromorph children and brutal deaths, there was something especially unsettling about Isaac utilizing the Noontech diagnostic machine. That's because it's basically a giant needle that has to be properly administered into his eye. One wrong move and you're treated to a violent gouging unlike anything you've ever seen. Until Dawn. Hannah's Diary. There are plenty of terrifying monsters in Until Dawn, from the Saw sequence to Josh's sisters tormenting him. However, the most underrated moment is when Mike and Sam find Hannah's diary. Remember Hannah and her sister Beth? As it turns out, Beth died after the fall all those years ago, but Hannah didn't. She ended up stranded and eventually resorted to cannibalizing her sister to survive. This caused the Wendigo curse to be released, but it's even worse to see Hannah's writing devolve more and more until there's nothing left but hunger, 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 scrawled on the last page. PT. Meeting Lisa. Lisa is a scary, scary woman. In PT, the teaser demo for the cancelled Silent Hills, where exactly you saw Lisa could vary. Did you turn around hearing that rasping behind you? Maybe looked up at the balcony and saw her back away into the shadows? Perhaps it was when she stood down the long hallway of deja vu, just watching until you approached. Either way, seeing her for the first time is fairly traumatizing. Resident Evil 7. Mia's Insanity. When anyone brings up Mia's transformation, they focus on the jump scare that accompanies her emerging from the basement. But this is only the beginning of an entire sequence of scary moments. After trying to kill Ethan with a knife, Mia regains control and bangs her head into the adjacent wall before getting knocked out. Don't worry though. She rises back up, gets stabbed with an axe, rises again, jams a screwdriver into Ethan's hand to pin him to the wall, and then lops his hand off with a freaking chainsaw. Can you believe that this is how Resident Evil 7 began? Layers of Fear 2. Moving Statue. Layers of Fear 2 really likes its statues, and it especially likes to suddenly move them to scare the life out of you. There's one statue in particular that you'll almost notice when encountering a locked door. It moves right out of the corner of your eye, just quick enough to register as something human-like scurrying off. Cheesy? Sure, but it's super effective. Bloodborne. The Winter Lantern. When traversing the Nightmare Frontier, something off in the distance will constantly emit a light and noise that causes the frenzy status. By the time you reach the building, you come face to face with the horror itself. A creature with a massively enlarged brain that's dotted with eyes. It even sprouts arms to ensnare you when alerted. Condemned 2. Bloodshot Mannequins. Before Spec Ops: The Line or Resident Evil 7, Condemned 2 presented a fairly harrowing scene with mannequins. At one point, protagonist Ethan Thomas will encounter a mannequin. Soon, some creepy whispering will be heard, and now there are several mannequins behind him. The mannequins keep teleporting behind Ethan out of his field of view for a bit, and eventually you just move on, at least until the next horror. The Evil Within 2. Meeting Anima. You probably haven't seen Guillermo del Toro's short film Mama, and if you've seen the long version, we're sorry. But Anima is basically the same thing. As the air becomes colder, surrounding furniture will shake and float. Eventually, a wiry woman will be seen, who suddenly rushes at you with murder on her mind. The worst part? You never really know where she'll pop up next. Emphasis on the popping up. Amnesia, The Dark Descent, The Water Monster. Amnesia The Dark Descent does a lot with its gatherers stalking you through the hallways. But once you reach the water section, it's a whole other ballgame. The monster here is invisible and is only visible through the splashes it creates when trampling through the water. If you hop on some boxes, it'll eventually go away, but it's never really gone. The Evil Within 2, Encountering the Guardian. At this point in the Evil Within series, you think you've seen it all. Laura with her multiple limbs, Anima constantly hunting you, the list goes on. However, the Guardian still manages to instill some sense of fear. The fight starts with several bodies clumping together to form one giant monstrosity with a buzzsaw. Even worse are its faces, all women, one laughing throughout the fight. No thank you. Silent Hill 3, The Mirror Room. While PT and Silent Hill 2 often receive credit for their myriad of horrors, Silent Hill 3 is no slouch for causing some good old-fashioned dread. The Mirror Room is a fine example. When Heather enters, there's a large sink and a giant mirror that reflects the entire room. However, slowly and slowly, the room starts filling with veins of blood. Heather is seemingly fine until you look at her reflection, where she becomes covered in blood and drops to the floor dead. Outlast, Dr. Traeger. Another encounter that'll never get old is Dr. Traeger from Outlast. From being incapacitated to taunted with escape, Traeger eventually starts torturing Miles, lopping off a finger in the process. What could be worse? Well, the hide-and-seek minigame you play as Traeger pursues Miles with giant scissors while the latter seeks to escape. Alien Isolation, Androids and Aliens. Eventually, as you progress through Alien Isolation, you'll have to deal with rogue androids who want you dead. It doesn't sound nearly as dreadful as the xenomorph until an android walks at you, oblivious to all pain or feeling, and starts strangling. Even worse is the fact that the xenomorph can still ambush you afterwards. You essentially escape from one horror only to meet another. The Last of Us, Chapter 5. Turning on the generator in Chapter 5 of The Last of Us can be a harrowing experience. This is because of the noise it makes. Once it's good to go, the infected are drawn to the noise, and you're forced to deal with stalkers, clickers, and even a bloater. If you're not paying attention, it's easy for a few to just attack off-screen and catch you off guard.
Damn it.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.